spoke the other day, of course, of his associate from Tampa, Florida, Helmut Sear. And did I say it correctly? So let's give him a nice warm welcome. We were over in the exhibit area and saw some of the pictures that he had and some of the suggestions about construction and some of the ways that you can make your life happier and healthier. I know we're going to learn a lot more in detail today. And of course, let's re-welcome, and he's going to go to about 10 o'clock, so I won't hold him up anymore. Mr. Wolfgang Maes. Let's give him a nice round.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the seminar. We are some minutes late, and I want to do a little bit quicker. I think everybody has heard the lecture, and I don't repeat anything. I just go further and give you some practical ideas and experiments, so that you know what you can do in your own house, or maybe give to your friends. A little bit theory for the beginning. You know, we are talking about electrical fields and magnetical fields, and I'll just give you a simple and quick overview about what is a house and sleeping room examination today is about. First, now, can you see it like that, but not down there? I just push it there. The electrical fields, first there are the, like you heard in the lecture, the alternating electrical fields from voltage. This is the German one, it should be like that. This is 110 volts and 60 hertz in America. And the direct electrical fields, which is only coming from synthetic and screens. This means TV and computers. So alternating the electrical installation, voltage in your house, and the direct electrical fields, synthetic and screens. There are the magnetic fields, and the magnetic fields, the alternating fields, only coming from current. This means some milli or amperes at 60 hertz again, and the direct magnetic fields only coming from steel. So this is very simple. You know now electrical, your installation, alternating fields, synthetic, direct fields, and the magnetic fields, current, or when they are alternating, or steel when it is direct. This is one of the major parts you have to measure when you do a house examination, but it goes on. We are not talking about that today because we have not enough time for that, but I will only show you what belongs to modern house examinations too. This is the big complex of radioactivity. It doesn't matter if it's alpha, beta, gamma, or how do you pronounce that? Neutron. Radioactivity can be, it's quite rare, but it can be in the house of copper, for example, tiles, and materials you build the house with. The follower of radioactivity, especially of alpha radioactivity, is radon. You know about that a lot in America. In Germany, it's not as common or as fashion as it is in America. All the toxic gases, for example, one from hundreds, formaldehyde, asbestos, is it right, asbestos? You call asbestos in Germany, and the geological stress factors. There are several names for that. There is geopathic stress or geological disturbances. Whatever it is, it belongs to water veins, for example. And this is measured. When I say measured, I mean physically measured, not sensitive by a rod or by a pendulum. This is measured in the area of radioactivity. You have a higher earth radiation over water veins, and there is a disturbance in the natural magnetic field of the Earth. So you know there are two parameters where you can measure geological stress with two. So let's talk about electrical and magnetic fields again, a little bit about the other things too, but we just start with that. And I would prefer just give you some experiences and some demonstrations in the first part of the seminar, and in the second part of the seminar I would like you just to ask, and the leader of the first and only Baubiological Institute in Florida, Mr. Helmut Ziel, and me, we will try to answer your questions then. Let's start with the alternating electrical fields with voltage. And I give you one very, very simple example for that. This is a very normal, like you can buy it everywhere, and a lot of you, maybe they have it. This is a very normal electrical pad. Is it called pad? Mm-hmm. Electrical blanket or something. Electrical pad. And whenever this pad is placed in your bed, there is contact to electricity as long as it is plugged in. Not only when it is used, when it is heating, it is enough that it is in the plug. And I just demonstrate to you one thing now. Whoever wants to sit down on the electrical pad, no. Doesn't matter. So, this is my wife. If you sit on that electrical pad and I do a very, very simple thing, this is, pardon me if my English is not too good, so many special words, I really don't know. I think it's called voltmeter. Is that right? Good.
Yeah.
This is a very simple voltmeter. Electricians measure plugs and the wires with that, and not people. And this electrical pad is switched out. It is not heating. And if you look on that voltmeter now, there is a number. And this is 3.8, 3.7, 3.8 about. This means this is 3,800 millivolts, because it is 3.8 volts. So the whole body, brain and lung and legs, everything, inside and outside, is full of a potential, an electrical 60 Hertz potential of 3,000 and a bit and some 100 millivolts when you sit or lie on the electric pad, even if it is not switched on. Just think of that, I told you on the lecture, think of that the pacemaker, for example, does affect, no doubt about that. The pacemaker gives an electrical little shock to the heart, and the heart is, the muscle is contracting. And the pacemaker does it with 1 millivolt. 1 millivolt is enough to do a muscle or a nerve effect. And this is much more than 3,000 millivolts you have in your whole body only because you have contact to this electrical device. If we switch that on now, maybe you do it, Teddy. This is on 0 now. If we switch it on, then it incredibly goes up to about 100 volts. This is nearly as much as you have in your plugs. This is 110. So this is 100 volts, and you can remember, if you saw it, this guy from China, this very interesting man who touched electricity, what did he do? Kion, what is it called? So he always was running around and presenting the people that a normal test screwdriver is flashing on his skin because he touched electricity. And everybody said, oh, incredible. And now this is 100 volts in your body, in her body, whenever you heat an electric pad. And you can't see it now because the light is on, but maybe we switch it out for some seconds. If you put, you know these test screwdrivers, there is a little lamp in there. And if you put it just on the skin or on the tongue, wherever it is, it burns. If you want to see that, we just have to switch the light out. Or you can believe that too, whatever you want. Yep. Just so it's very dark now, but can you say it?
Yeah.
In front here that The one who sees it just says, there it is. There it is, and now I leave the skin again, and there it is again on Stacy's body, so we can switch the light off. So this is such a simple thing, is flashing only by having contact to electrical device. Thank you. I don't want to disturb you anymore.
How much does it have to have the screwdriver light up?
More than 50 volts.
More than 50
Good
volts.
question.
Thank
This one is flashing. Screwdrivers are a little bit different from product to product. About 40 to 60 volt. Medium is 50 volt, then this thing starts. You will not find it when you lie in bed and there is only an alarm clock on the bed. This is less, but this demonstration is quite interesting because all the electric pads and heating blankets do that. Some water beds with heaters underneath the water mattress do that too. And what the hell do more than 10, 20, 100 electrical volts, what do they have to do in your body when you lie at night in bed 8 hours and you want to relax? You can't relax anymore. You wake up more stressed than you went to bed.
In your opinion, Mr. Maes, what is the toxic level? What level is
Speak out louder.
What level is dangerous?
So, we don't have any laws against that. There is only experiences. And we, in Germany, the Baubiological scene says 0. You know, the pacemaker makes 1 milliwatt. So 0 should be too much. So 0 is normal. But we accept 20 millivolts because we know when your biological system is good and you are not ill and you are not too sensitive, you put away 20 millivolts, but perfect should be 0. And you always can have 0. Always, there is no problem. You only have to take electricity away. Or we should demonstrate that too, or we do it a little later. If we unplug the heater, then the potential is going to 0, of course. So I show you what...
Mr. Maes,
Yes,
on
please.
the voltmeter, are those cables special? You can just buy those cables?
No,
Or they,
no.
They're not special cables.
If you want to do that measuring, I have to give you some more information because it is very, I just do it very short now, it's very important that it is a digital voltmeter, not an analog one. The voltmeter has to have, oh god, no technique, my English, has to have Innenwiderstand.
Resistance, an interior resistance.
And resistance, which is pronounced in ohm. You know what ohm is? Yeah.
Sure.
About
Same.
10 mega ohm. This is normal for most of the voltmeters, but you have to take care of that. If it is a very cheap one, maybe this ohm number is lower and then it is not working. So just think of a digital voltmeter with 10 mega ohm and it works. And you take a hand electrode or just a thing like that and put it into your mouth. Wherever you want to take the electricity from the body off, you just get contact to the body, wherever, and you have to measure it against ground, like you always have to measure it.
The other cord goes into
Yeah,
like a
this
light
is
socket or
the other
something.
cord, and it goes there to the ground of the plug. Or you go to a heater, for example, or to the water tube to ground. And then you lie your person into the bed, and it has to stand on 0. If it doesn't do it, just go around and search where the problem is. Please.
When the energy is off, in an off state, and you were showing that you still got, is it 50 volts of energy?
Yes?
Is that, when it's off, is that what is called dielectric energy?
I don't know what dielectric is now.
Okay,
It's just normal, simple physical voltage.
Right,
A
okay.
voltage which is in and around your body.
thank you.
Connecting to voltage, to electrical fields, because you have contact to them. Is that enough for you?
I didn't understand about putting it in your mouth. I mean, I don't know how
so-
would you do the rest of it? Right?
Whatever you do, if you want to measure that with a voltmeter, you have to take contact to the body to measure it. And it doesn't matter where the contact is done. If you take a thing like that, which is going to the voltmeter, or if you take a little thing like that, you just put it between the lips. You only have
But
to
you
take
hold
contact.
But you hold the voltmeter with the other hand. Is that-
No, no. This is the only thing which takes contact to your body. And the voltmeter measures your potential in the body. But you can take a normal little plug like that too. This is not necessary.
Where,
This is
how,
only
how would the
comfortable.
voltmeter get that in your hand?
Is anybody there who can answer that? I think.
Yes, sir, just the plug, use it turns the plug, you don't need the nice hand piece.
When
But it
it's
has to
still
be
plugged in,
connected.
you have to have two plugs on either end of the wire.
Is that enough?
Instead of your hand, you put it in your mouth.
Right, instead of the hand.
Yeah.
Wherever you can put it here.
I didn't
Wherever
know it was
you,
still
between
plugged
your
in.
teeth, wherever you want to put it. The potential is in the whole body. You can let it down into your stomach. It is everywhere.
You said some water beds will provide that voltage as well. Are there any that do not?
I don't know really, because we don't have so many waterbeds in Germany. You have more in America. It's very different. It depends on, are the cables to the heating system of the waterbed, are they shielded or not? Are they grounded or not? Which heater, which kind of heater is built in? So you can only control that by a good measurement. All the other things are theories, but you always have high potentials. It is always quite high.
Maybe I can tell you something.
Please.
You can approach me later on. I can give you an address of somebody who advertises that he has heating devices for water beds that are not dangerous and not producing fields. Okay?
So maybe I show you one more thing. I present you some very simple measuring instruments. My big instruments, 6 suitcases full of instruments, they are at home. And the ones I took to show you are very, very simple. They are from Germany. They are not too expensive, and you can do a lot with them. I prefer presenting these because you know if you want to do something on that level, you can pay that and you can work with it. And this is a very simple suitcase which measures electrical and magnetic field. The position now is on electrical fields, and now you see if I go with that sonde to the electric pad, electrical fields even make a sound. There it is. This is the electrical field which is coming out of the pad and which we measured on Tesi's body.
Getting that switch on, right?
Now it is switched on. Thank you for the idea. It's switched on 1, and I switch it out on 0 now. Still, there is the field. Now it is away. There it is. And this is on position 1 now. And if the body, just try it like that, if the body gets contact again to an electric field, and just imagine this is only a symbol. It can be a plug or the wires in the wall or your radio alarm clock too, where the body gets contact to. If the body gets contact to an electric field, so there is, this is a real pity, there is everywhere in the body there is high voltage. So maybe I unplug it now. Watch that. Away. The plug is out now. Now the field is away because there is no electricity in the pad anymore.
Can you touch your skin now?
Yeah, there will be a little bit because she is sitting on the wall. A little bit. Still. And there are cables everywhere. Just do one thing to demonstrate that. There is a cable. Excuse me, I have to get contact with the skin. Touch the cable. No, I try it here again. Did we switch it out? No, touch it again. Oh, there it is a little bit. Can you hear it? If she touches the cable again. You see, it's less than it is in the pad. It's less. But still, that is enough. This is, I don't know, about 1 volt. 1 volt is, again, 1,000 millivolt. This is, let me say it like that, about 1,000 pacemakers. And leave it. So, and then it is away again. So only to show you that you can make a sound with electrical fields, and it doesn't matter which instrument you take. There is another little instrument coming from Germany too. It costs some 100 marks. It's not very expensive. And if you put it into the plug again and I switch it on, there is another sound. See, this is, you know, if it is making that noise, that is an electrical field coming out of the pad.
And what is that instrument called?
In German, it's called a Fieldsonde, Feldsonde. If you are interested, I just give you some German addresses afterwards because I don't think that a lot of guys of you are interested.
I have a little cheap transistor radio
Yes.
that I tuned back to, I guess it's just below 55 hertz.
Yeah.
Now, if I take that and push that close to things, it starts making a lot of noise.
Right.
What am I measuring with that? Am I measuring electrical field?
No.
Or does
This
that
is a good
magnetic
question.
field?
We go one step further. The magnetic electrical fields just are the result, the followers of voltage. There is no current running. We demonstrated it. The pad was switched out. No current was running. It was only an electrical field because it was connected to the electricity of the plugs of your house. When current is running, when your radio, your transformer, your heater, your freezer is on, when current is running, there is another alternating field. This is the alternating magnetic field. And what you measure with transformers, for example, can only be magnetic field. I put that suitcase, that instrument on magnetic fields now, and you see, there is the noise already. This is a transformer. I bought it yesterday in the hotel, this little thing here. It transforms your 110 volts to our 220 volts, so because I have these instruments from Germany, and all transformers, doesn't matter where they are, make very, very big magnetic fields. And this is what you measured with a little simple instrument. If I do the transformer away and I switch in something you know and everybody knows, this is coming from General Electric. I love General Electric. You see, there is a big magnetic field too. What you don't know, let me say that for a minute, what you don't know is that in about a distance from 1.5 feet is 30 centimeters? About 1.5 feet, in that distance, the electromagnetic field is as big as it is directly under high tension lines. You only have to know that. Everybody is looking out of the window and saying there is no high intention line in the surrounding, so there is no electromagnetic field, and this is wrong. The most biggest electromagnetic fields are produced by alarm clocks, by little radio alarm clocks directly beneath your head. The distance is the problem. If it is 2 yards away, there is no problem. But it is always, for whatever I don't know, it is always placed directly in the surrounding of the head. You're not looking to the clock when you sleep 8 hours at night. You want to relax, so keep distance to these instruments.
What distance specifically?
2 yards. 1 yard mostly is enough. Mostly, but I don't know what you have in your sleeping room. Say 2 yards.
How about,
Excuse me.
how about an electric heater?
The same.
Say 2 yards.
If you just think, if you hear that for the first time, this is a little bit hard to understand. These little things make big fields because of their transformers. And it really doesn't matter if it is hi-fi stuff as big as that with CD and tape and radio and tuner and receiver. This big hi-fi thing is not doing more than this little alarm clock. And the heater too, there is not a big difference. 2 yards again.
What happens if it's battery operated rather than electric?
Nothing. If you take an alarm clock with battery, this is direct current. You can put that under your pillow. It doesn't do anything. So there is not a real problem. Just change it. Buy things with batteries. They work 2 years with one battery.
Does it quartz matter or just regular battery? Does it matter if it's quartz or?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Important is that it is battery.
What about the transformer on, from a halogen light? Or
Bad, very, very bad. What I demonstrated you right now with that transformer is the same field which you have in halogen, is it called? Halogen lamps too. So, and the thing is, just imagine there is an halogen lamp, and in the foot of that halogen lamp, the foot is most of the times very big, there is the transformer in, and if you switch the halogen lamp out, incredible, but most of the times you switch out the lamp, not the transformer. And the transformer you have to pay. It runs current, and your health has to stand it.
So how, the distance from one of those
1 yard,
transformers?
1 to 2 yards, it's always the same.
Same, what about with fluorescent light transformers?
The same, right, the transformers of fluorescent light, or fluorescent tubes, how you say that, make the same distance of electromagnetic field whenever electricity is transformed. Not when electricity is just only running through a cable. This is a cable and there is a lamp somewhere there. The electromagnetic field is very, very little. So you have to put it around your neck to get something. You won't do that. But all the things which are used with transformers, whatever it is, take distance, maybe your migraine. I don't promise too much. I have experiences for years now, and I can tell about hundreds of case studies with migraine and so on, and it's just away from one night to the other. It's incredible, but it is like that.
Is a digital LCD type of clock work the same?
Right,
Is
the
that-
same, because it is not the digital, it is only the transformer. Cheap transformer in cheap plastic bodies, not grounded, not shielded, this is the problem. And nobody knows why the industry is not, for example, with these halogen lamps, is not switching out the transformer too. They just even don't think of it. There are millions and millions of working transformers in America with millions and millions of which are used. You have to pay that, and the nature has to stand it. This is just ridiculous, for nothing. You don't use the electricity, and it is still running. Unplug it. Either distance or unplug it.
What is the safe distance to live from the high frequency power lines?
From power lines.
Yeah. Because they're through a lot of neighborhoods.
I only can talk about that because it is different. All power lines do different fields. But say between 150 and 250 yards should be enough, even with the biggest power lines. Still, there is a little rest, but it is not bigger than you measure it 1 yard away from this alarm clock. So we have to live with that a little bit. But the big risk is in between 100 and 200 yards, and less than that. And this is very, very big. But it even is not bigger than in that distance to an alarm clock. Don't forget that.
I had shared with you the other day that I lived next to an electric
Right.
generating power plant.
Tell
in the
them.
Department of Water and Powers for 4.5 years. And I didn't know that because it was encased in a wonderful building. And it wasn't until one time when I was so sick with Epstein-Barr that I could hardly stand up. And I'm a healer, so I run a lot of energy, and it kept me healthy longer than anyone else. Other people died of cancer within that same building and within a block, and I was wondering how the transformer of that size, I mean, I'm talking about a half a city block worth of transformers, from here to where the next seminar is happening. How would the transformers affect, I mean, how much electricity is there compared?
You can't say that because all the big transformers are totally different. totally different.
And it depends also how much is used. I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
it depends on the day,
On
time of day
amperes.
when.
Well, that was the thing that was so interesting, was when I would lay down in bed, I could feel every cell of my body pulsating.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm so cautious, I
You
can
really feel
tell what my
pulsing in
cells
60
feel
hertz
like, and it
rhythm.
wasn't, it was the electricity.
What I want to show you now, I hope you can see it. There is a little compass on the screen. Can you see it? Or I go a little,
Little
I
higher.
think there it is better. And there is a wire, a very simple demonstration. This is a battery, direct current. And if I let the current flow to, I will do it now, you see that the needle is moving. So this is a little example for you that you just see when a needle is moving, there is current, electricity produces unnatural magnetic field, otherwise the needle would not move. And this is direct current, and if you do that with alternating current, you can present that with a compass because he had to go 60 times a second left and right. He's not quick enough for that.
Speaking of batteries, what is the effect of battery
Nothing.
watches? Battery watches?
Nothing. Nothing. If I say nothing, I mean so less that it's just no by of course. In a lab you can measure something, but it's nothing for you, nothing for the risk of our health.
In using the 6-pulse Chinese system for monitoring on the left wrist if the person's wearing a watch, they test for the 3 pulses.
Yeah.
Pulse number 1 will stop will slow down within 1 beat when you come in contact with an electric watch.
So,
In the span of 1 beat, it'll stop, and it's very noticeable. I was shocked
so
when
let's,
somebody showed me that.
let's take your idea and present one thing. Who has an electric watch? So let me just present you that. This is what you are talking about. An electric watch giving every second an unnatural electromagnetic impulse into your pulse. 18 hours a day. I don't know what that does. I'm not a medicine, but I know this is totally unnatural. And I know a lot of people who had Kreislaufstörungen.
Circulatory problems.
Yeah. And they stopped after taking away these electrical watches.
It's a quartz watch. The old-fashioned wind-up spring watches. I don't
This
know
is a
what
quartz
that-
watch, and this one is not doing, like you listen, anything, because it is battery. I don't really know what it is. It's
He has a
always the
quartz
watches with these Sekundenzeiger.
Hand
Yeah?
for seconds.
There must be something like a timer in the body of the watch. I don't know what it is.
That was the quartz watch too?
So this is quartz.
Show him. This is a quartz watch.
What is this?
And this one, whatever you call it, I don't know the English name, is doing nothing. So let's just have a look at some watches.
Well,
This one is doing it
It's
again.
electric. It's got a battery, but it's not a quartz.
So this one is doing nothing, because this is a manual one. This is the manual one. This is a wind-up, it's doing nothing. Wants to...
I have a Tesla watch on.
Oh, she has
What does that in electromagnetic field do to your body? I don't know. I have a lot of questions, not a lot of answers, but I just can demonstrate it to you. So they don't do anything. They don't do anything. Tell the people, please. Tell them. Everybody wants to listen to him.
The acupuncturist that demonstrated this to me also demonstrated that it changes the pulse if the watch is on the outside of the wrist as compared to the inside of the wrist.
Better on the inside of the wrist?
I don't remember what the difference was. This was a number of years ago, but it made it worse if it was on one side of the wrist versus the other.
And
You
also,
have to know there are a lot of questions you can't already answer. And this We have to see it like that. The only thing we can say is it is a totally unnatural field, and it's your experiment to try what it feels like not to have it. This is for the first step enough.
Also, in testing people with using kinesiology, most people will test weaker when they come in contact with them.
Right, right, you're right.
And particularly if it's on an acupuncture meridian?
Would be worse,
Because I
right.
used a pedometer.
I think so, that there is a connection, a very big connection, yes.
The watch that he has here is one of those that has a chip in it, and it is
Right.
For that. But also, a regular watch, we found that if you put it on the right hand, and maybe it's because the natural energy flows in through the left and out through the right, most people are not as invested in the right hand as they, and so you'll find real sensy people say, I cannot wear a watch in this hand, but I can stand it here. So
You have to make experiments with that. Everybody reacts very different to these things. So I go on a little bit. You know about electrical fields. You know a little bit. We have to make very quick. And I know it's horrible. It's horrible. I don't like just scratching wounds and then the time is over and I can't heal them anymore. But I have to give you some information so that you know where the way is going to. And when I'm back in Germany, he is still in America, contact him for further information.
Well, I might come in here with a short remark on what can be done and what cannot be done. In Baubiology, we are trying to help people to get out of a dangerous situation and help them also to build healthy homes. Now, very often people will ask, what scientific evidence do you have for proposing this or that? And we have also this word threshold value, which came up. You know, how much can a person tolerate? You know, when does he get sick and so on? These are questions that are asked very often, and they are also answered officially very often. You have threshold value for chemical substances, for instance. My viewpoint, and I don't know about anybody else's, but my viewpoint to this is these threshold values are useless. They're very hard. Nobody will actually guarantee that a certain given threshold value is just the borderline between being healthy or being not healthy. So my advice is if there are any threshold values, don't put any attention to it. Avoid it, simple as that. If somebody says, you know, so many ppms of formaldehyde will not cause any problem to you, and if you are above this, you know, then you are likely to get cancer. I wouldn't tamper with that one, you see, and that is true for everything, particularly for the substances that are already known as carcinogenic and mutagenic. Same thing in the electrical field here. How much can you tolerate? What do I know? People are different as well.
Right.
And so to recommend anything here at all, I think the best one can recommend, get out of it. Don't use it. Just switch it off, unplug it, get rid of many of these electric instruments, you know, the toothbrush that is doing it by itself, or the knife that is, what the heck, you know, what do you need all this for? And many other things that we are using or having in our homes and not even using it, but it is plugged in, you know, causing a lot of unnecessary stress. I mean, you are saying the distance from a gadget is important. Yes, it is important. And it is particularly important at night when you sleep. But can you imagine you have in your home lots of little places where you have all plugged in some instruments, and you go, you know, through all this, and everything is creating a field. It might not be that bad, but I mean, you know, because you are awake during the daytime and the body is responding differently, but you are still moving through fields all the time, right? So the answer to that is simple. do very little electric installation if you can convince your what are these guys, you know? Do it as little as possible and cheat even if you need to. Not every 6 feet an outlet, you know, just unplug these or undo these things when they are requested.
I mean, the flat outlet in the wall itself is dangerous. I mean, it creates a magnetic field.
Yes, sure.
For health.
Yeah, shielded, yes.
Let me repeat one very important thing. I don't want to make you crazy and anxious. This is very important. Very important. I want to relax you. Let me repeat one more thing. When you sleep at night, when you relax, the body is 10 to 100 times more sensitive to these things than the body is during the awakened daytime. And you lie 8 hours, or children, or old people, or sick people, much more than 8 hours, on one place all the time. And this is the biggest risk. You don't sleep with your running toothbrush 8 hours a night. So there is a very, very big field. The field is incredible high, but it's only some minutes. The major important is your sleeping place.
I wanted to mention that my son has a 5-year-old boy. They built a new house, and you know the electrical panel on the outside of the house was at the corner of this child's bedroom, and his head of his bed was right up against the wall. When they changed him and moved his head to the bottom of the bed, then he slept much better. Otherwise, he was very hyper.
So this is a good example. Sometimes 1 yard is enough. This is what I'm always talking about. Just give it a try, give it a chance. 1 yard is enough.
This subject gets kind of scary when you think about the type of equipment that's in a hospital intensive care unit.
Yeah, I know. But you will not believe it. I did several measurements in intensive cares. You don't find fields. So this is a very interesting thing because the technique is so sensitive that the technique cannot stand these fields. Otherwise, the results would be a mess. So all these things in the hospital, in computer stations, in big ones, in the cockpit of the jumbo jet, they are so perfectly shielded. If you are going to sleep in the cockpit of a jumbo jet, congratulations, it is healthy. I measured it several times. So you see that it is possible. And why it is not possible in sleeping rooms? Because the gadgets, the devices are simple, not grounded, are cheap, are plastic, are not shielded, and so on. It is possible. I want you to have a sleeping room like a cockpit, like a big computer room, like an operation room in the hospital, and so on. You don't find any fields there. So this is nothing green or biological or ecological we are talking about now. This is just simple technique, and everybody knows about that. Tell the people, this is not my sleeping room, this is a studio. I want to do Tonbandaufnahmen. Tape recordings, very sensitive tape recordings in the studio. Everybody says, oh, then we can afford any electrical or magnetic fields. It is possible.
What about in a kitchen? Because one has a refrigerator.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want to talk about kitchens, and you know why. It is horrible in a kitchen. We can't change it. We want our kitchen, we need our kitchen. Don't put too many electricity in there, and you don't sleep in the kitchen. Is that enough? No, food doesn't react to that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Excuse me, but a kitchen is, we could talk 3 hours only about kitchens and cars. Let's don't start with that.
Can you give one example of how you might shield something, like an electric wire or a plug, if you wanted to?
Good. Good question. The answer is, if you want to have no magnetic fields, now you know that the magnetic fields are the followers of current, of transformers, of devices. Just unplug them or throw them out. In America, every sleeping room has a TV. But the TV still is radiating after you switched it out. You have to unplug it. So just reduce what you can reduce. We don't want to go back into the cave, but you are not looking 8 hours TV. You are sleeping, so unplug it. The second thing is, if you want to get rid of all electrical fields, there is a chance, for example, to switch the fuse in the fuse box from the sleeping room out. Just build in a timer. Say 12 o'clock finished, like in the youth hostel, and in the morning at 6 o'clock, clock on again. Just have some ideas. Doesn't matter how you switch it. Manual, or with a timer, or with an automatic, whatever it is, but just switch it out. So in the whole room, there is no electricity anymore. Always depending on the sleeping room, not on the kitchen and the refrigerators.
So I have a fuse box in my bedroom.
A what?
I have a fuse box
Yeah,
in my
2
bedroom.
yards.
Yeah, about 10 feet from where I sleep. If I just...
No, it doesn't work. If you have a fuse box in your wall, you have always electromagnetic field, even if the fuses are switched out. You have to take distance to fuse boxes, like to TVs too.
Are you putting aluminum foil?
No,
Is
you
not
can't.
an issue.
This is a very good thing again. If you put aluminum on the wall and ground it, this is very important. A lot of people do it. They put foils, metal foils, aluminum, copper, for example, on the wall, and they forget to ground it. So if you don't ground it, the problem is bigger than it was before. You have to put a cable on the aluminum and go to a ground, wherever that is. Ground is the heater, the water tubes, or the grounding in the plugs, if you have one. Careful. And if it is grounded, then it shields electric fields. Voltage, not magnetic fields. You can't do anything against magnetic fields, or the only thing is you unplug it or you take distance, nothing else.
Are you familiar at all with work that's being done with magnets being put on fuse boxes and that it can change?
It doesn't work anything. It's just rubbish.
You've heard about that?
Excuse me, I hope you don't sell it.
Well, no, I know people who use kinesiology,
I know.
who, if it's done very precisely.
So kinesiology has its borders too.
Okay, and
It just doesn't work. I don't know what it does, but I can tell you the electromagnetic field is not away.
Okay. Do you recommend gas stoves or electric stoves?
Gas or electric?
Gas or electric for stoves, because gas produces pollution in the house.
This you mean.
And then electric stoves, when the burners are on,
I don't know.
produce fuels.
On the one side there is pollution, on the other side pollution you can correct it a little bit by opening the windows. On the other side there are electromagnetic fields. What do you prefer? I don't know.
We have a lot of electricity in our telephone system. I even had to have a phone put in that had no electricity because of the storms we had. I live in the Northeast. Hurricane Gloria, we didn't have any power for 9 days. Unfortunately, I had one phone that had no electricity, but our phones are very electric, and I don't like them. They don't work very well either. What do you know about these phones that have a lot of electricity?
In the telephone system, the telephone cables, for example, nearly don't do any fields. You only have magnetic fields when you telephone. And let's come back to the night place, to the bed place. You are not telephoning while you are sleeping.
But we have phones there. We have a box close to our.
They don't do anything.
They don't do
The
anything.
field is very, very little.
Okay.
Telephone is one of the major things, one of the good things, which is not very field intensive.
How about the telephones that...
Yeah, when you have your cordless telephones, for example, the electromagnetic fields of the antenna are quite big.
And goes right through the brain.
Shoot, through the head, through the walls, everywhere. So it is quite big. But still, the time is very, very short today. Let's stay in the sleeping place. You are not telephoning at night, and at night you are 100 times more sensitive, and you lie down 8 hours and more.
2 questions. You talked about unplugging the electrical devices from the wall.
Right.
Would a double switch that actually broke both connections be just equivalent?
Yes.
And the other one, I happen to work with computers, so I think video displays, but I know television sets and other things have the same kind of radiation. Can this be reduced? The screens that they're marketing now, are those really effective?
Only the screens.
the screens.
Yeah, you know about these the screen shields you can buy. You put them in front of the shields and they are grounded again. They take away the electrical fields, not the magnetic.
But it has to be the ones that actually have a grounding strap.
Right, you have to be aware that it is grounded. All the other things are rubbish. They are sold, but they are rubbish.
This woman was
I
saying...
want to give you some demonstrations.
Yes, yes, yes.
So we interrupt that for a moment and just go on with some
Yeah.
demonstrations. The last one for the
Real
moment.
quickly, her grandson's head was moved from the top of the bed to the bottom.
Yeah.
Does that mean that it's when the head is close to the transformer?
Yes.
So the feet are okay?
Yes, this is the major part, the most sensitive part of our body. And if this is away from the field, this is much better than, for example, the feet are, of course. Of course. I give you some, I got it some 2 or 3 weeks from a friend of mine, only that you see the San Francisco Examiner, 2 pages full of caution electricity. So you see, what in Germany, it is nearly everyday life. The last 20 years, everybody gets more and more aware about that. I think in America it's coming very, very slowly, but it is coming, even in newspapers and in the TV. I only wanted to show you that. And next step I would like to go is, we were talking about magnetic fields, and you know that magnetic fields can be produced by steel. The next step, steel too. This is a steel screwdriver, and if I go to the needle, you see it runs away. This is typical for steel. But the undisturbed Earth magnetic field is one of the major important things for our body. Our whole body, the whole life, functions in this very strong Earth magnetic field, and the compass proves to you that the magnetic field of the Earth is there, otherwise the needle would not go to the north. And let me warn you about one thing again, you have that a lot more than we have it in Europe. I think, I don't know if you know what that is.
Spring.
This is just a spring mattress, is it called?
In a spring.
In a spring, a the part of a mattress. And if I go with that steel spring to the compass, you can see it, to the compass, you will be surprised. See, what is that? So the needle is turning to the left and to the right. I take another spring. I think this one is doing it too. Sometimes it's, look at that. So this is a disturbance of the magnetic field in your body, which is just incredible. We don't talk about that too much now because it is very simple. Control it. This is one simple measuring instrument. You can buy a 20 bucks compass and you just control it on your bed. Lie the compass on the top of the bed and go down to the feet and be aware that the needle points to north. If the needle is not doing that, the only thing which can do that effect is steel. Throw it out. Sleep on a mattress which has no steel, a natural material, for example latex, for example whatever it is, futon, whatever it is.
But all our bed frames, all the bed frames that we put things on also are steel with the
So I
rolling
can't
wheels,
change
so
it.
those.
I tell you, it is very, very risky. The body needs the natural flowing Earth magnetic field, and if it is disturbed, all the researchers, all the scientists in the world agree in biological effects. But nobody thinks of that this field is in our mattress. This is the fact. Nobody doubts that it makes biological effects.
One thing I just mentioned with your magnetic field, it's fairly recent, I'm waiting to see some published information, but they've actually eliminated the Earth magnetic field in some testing. And the people involved became very emotionally unstable during the period they were eliminated from the natural Earth field. So they've actually proven that a lack of a natural Earth field is very critical to emotional nature.
So I told you. Let me give you one more. And this is very rare. I show you now. Some of you have it. What is your brain saying? How is your brain reacting to that? You go with a pair of spectacles. Look at that. This is in your brain a totally unnecessary and strong magnetic field. This is quite rare. He does it, no effect.
But it's metal too.
So it's only steel because it is, however, magnetized. Most spectacles are not magnetized, and if you want to try it, we do it afterwards. There is the compass. It's very simple. You just go to it, and if it turns away, hello, my brain.
How about the magnetic sleep pads they sell from Japan? They claim to have very low Gauss.
Doesn't matter where they come from and by whom they are sold. Be very, very careful. The only magnetic field which is good to your health is the God's one. This is one which is coming out of the earth. All these magnetic pads and instruments and little magnets going on the skin, be careful with that. They make effect and you don't know which one.
Is there a better way to align the body when you are sleeping? Should the head be to the north or to the south, or the east or west?
Right. The best position for the body is with the head to the north. Between north and east is allowed. This would be a good position. But see, like that, I don't know anybody who was getting ill not by doing it. So you can't sleep with the head to the south. You will not get ill. The things we are talking about today are real stress factors. And it is not a stress factor to sleep with the head to the south. It's just natural and good for your energy flowing to be in harmony with your surrounding, with your nature, and lie with the head to the north.
Just a point of clarification. When you were talking about copper and all that, you were talking about like a static electricity charge because it has no magnetic thing.
No.
So it was just, you were talking about
Only electricity, right. You are right. You understand it well.
What about all these coils and watches, Telstar watches that they're selling to avert the magnetic fields and different electrical fields? Are any of them any good?
What is sold in the world. There is so many ships sold in Germany. You can't avoid magnetic fields. It is just physically impossible. It's just a lie when somebody says that.
Even with those mattress covers that come out of Germany?
No, nothing. They come out of Germany.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
It is rubbish.
Electric blanket.
Oh, we were talking about electric blankets. I just showed it to you. This electric pad is a part of electric blanket. Do it 10 times bigger so you have a little bigger potential in the body then too.
Will you be talking about computers and microwaves and how much time during the day a person can work in front
So
of them?
let's calm down again. We have only another 20 minutes.
Okay.
You are not sleeping with microwaves.
Right.
So it is the sleeping place. I don't want to make you nervous with all these things. I want to relax you. Reduce it in your sleeping place. If you need a microwave, only God knows why.
Yes.
If you need a microwave, do it. It is totally unhealthy. It makes big electric, magnetic field. It makes big high frequency fields. This is the microwave. In
Reaching a long distance.
A long distance, 4 or 5 yards distance. I measured thousands of microwaves, and I didn't measure one, only one, which was really without any Lichtstrahlung, without any pollution, without any fields coming out. So if you really need it, I don't know why, but if it is there, go out of the kitchen if it is working.
Will you be able to show us any other measuring tools?
Yes. I will go on a little bit now. You know, steel, for example, makes unnatural magnetic fields too. The compass reacts to that. This is very risky. Throw everything out which is out of steel. I can't present you some experiments with electrostatic loadings because you will not see the instruments. They are too little, you will not see it. Just say it like that. Electrostatic loadings from synthetic, for example, can be, this is very different, can be very high too, and in a healthy sleeping room, there has no synthetic to be. Just take natural materials on the floors, on the walls, wallpapers, and so on. We were talking about that during the lecture too. I give you maybe one or two more very interesting.
Can you tell us how you can measure the electrostatic effect?
Yeah, this is electro field zones again. Little instruments like that, but very expensive instruments. If I go with this little machine now to these little packages, you will be very surprised. I just go down and you listen to the sound. Maybe we are a little bit silent now to hear that. I just go down. Can you hear it?
Yes.
So this is already 100 times quicker. And this is very quick though. So I tell you that in the distance of that to the table, there is a radioactivity which is already forbidden for workers in nuclear plants by law. This is forbidden. And if I show you what is in there, you will be very surprised. I don't like to touch it too much, but I will do it for you. I was making a measurement some years ago in California, in Sausalito, and these are two little antique ashtrays. Was heißt Glasur? There is uranium glazing on it. And if that stands in about this distance to your head, you really have more than it is allowed by law in nuclear plants. And this is, just say it like that as a symbol, this is more than 2, 3, or 4 X-rays of your head each night. So this can happen when you walk around as a Baubiologist, but God bless, it doesn't happen too often. A very old uranium-produced alarm clock. Incredible. Chernobyl is nothing against that in a close distance, of course, not in 1 yard away. And the other one is, oh yeah, this is this one. Interesting is maybe that all these 3 things were founded, 3 persons who had a brain tumor. 3 ones, all the 3. Holy Maria with a little Jesus child, uranium again. So you can find that here and then, but please, I don't want to worry you. This is very, very rare. Maybe you are a little bit, you take care of minerals and antique things just 1 yard away again, and this problem is solved too.
I can probably come up with a comment here. This comes very often from developing countries, you know, in
Right.
Mexico and also in Italy, where they do a lot of these things. You know, they have no idea about the glazing, then they put that glazing on. So if you are traveling, tourist, and so on, you buy all that stuff, you want to be careful there, because that is the place where you find it.
And what is it in the glazing?
What's in it? Radioactivity.
Uranium.
This is radioactivity coming from heavy metals, for instance. You know, and sometimes, you know, these colors they come from cadmium and so on. These are highly radioactive. You see, cadmium. Yes, the yellow. The yellow color, for instance, is a dangerous one.
They warn about those, some of the cloisonné pendants and whatnot that are those colors.
Yeah.
Okay, to avoid the problem with eyeglasses for those people who wear glasses, do you recommend contact lenses or what?
Right, for example.
And why is it that his glasses do not show glass?
This is maybe not steel, and if it is steel, it is not magnetized.
Oh, okay.
And it is magnetized during the process when it is produced in the factory.
The other question is, Does
just give
anyone-
it back. If you find a spectacle like that, give it back.
Can you demagnetize? Degauss it?
You can, but not with a spectacle. You can if you have one magnet, but these are several parts of steel, and if you demagnetize one part, the other part is magnetized then. You
Can
can't
you
do it.
degauss a bed frame? Can you degauss a bed frame?
No.
Magnetize it?
No. Theoretically, yes, but you have, this is too expensive, say it like that. It's better to buy a new wooden frame, for example.
Yeah. The other question is, does anyone in the room know where one can obtain a horsehair mattress in the United States? I know they have them in Germany.
Very good thing, horsehair.
Horsehair mattress?
So take contact to her. Take contact to her.
Check later.
Yeah, find that.
Let me show you, we have another 10 minutes if you want, but then it is really finished. Let me show you some more things. I want to bring you in a bad mood now. The highest radioactivity you can give to your body is just to fly. And like I know, the Americans fly a lot. I was doing a lot of flights. I do that very short per plane normally, wise, not for months and years. I did a lot of flights. If this is the radioactivity on the ground where we live, it goes up until the aeroplane gets its peak in about 12 kilometers. How much is that?
Well, 35,000 miles.
Well, they fly.
35,000 feet.
You have a radioactivity which is so high, you will never and nowhere find that in the environment or in the nuclear plant or somewhere else. So the natural radioactivity is very, very high when you fly. And a lot of pilots in Germany, they protest against it. And I don't know what is it like in America, because the laws, the limit by law is a quarter of what you find in the aeroplanes. And so the working place, as a pilot, for example, is just forbidden. This is a fun thing.
They can't shield the cabins?
No. No,
So cosmic
it's
radiation.
too heavy then. The aeroplane will not go up anymore. So radioactivity is one thing. Let me tell you about that in the next 5 minutes. Radioactivity is one thing you can measure, and this may be quite interesting for you too. You can measure over geological stress zones. When this is, again, the very normal radioactivity of the Earth, and you go around with measuring instruments, with so-called scintillation counters, very, very expensive and sensitive instruments to measure radioactivity, radiation. So this is the normal level, and you go towards a geological stress zone, a geopathic zone, then the radioactivity goes up for about more than 100%. This is a zone which is about 10 meters. How much is that in English? 10 meters?
10 meters?
30 feet? About 30 feet. As large as 30 feet and some 100 feet long. So there is more radioactivity. And this radioactivity, measured over geological stress zones, goes through the whole house. And this is a quite good example for that too. I was in Seattle 2 or 3 years ago, and we did a test in a hotel. And all these red marked zones are geological areas, stress zones, on different levels of the hotel. The underground garage, and lobby and first floor and the 8th floor, 19th floor, and this is on the Dach, on the roof. So you see, all the levels you find nearly the same geological zones, and you find through 22 floors, all through the same intensity. It is incredible, but in the underground, the same intensity than you find on the roof. And I did some experiments in Germany. This is an official geological map. I don't know if you have something like that in America. There is, yeah, you have geological maps. And in these geological maps, this is a town called Essen, in Germany. This is a river, and the river does a lake, and this is the town, and all the red marked zones are geological zones which are put in this geological map. And I went with my measuring instruments in these areas, and I found exactly in these zones 100 to 200% higher natural radioactivity. And I did one so that you can see that too. This is one of these zones in a normal street map. There is the lake again down there, the green one. And funny is that this geological zone is going through the whole of Essen, of the streets. This is the highway up here. And very, very funny is that this is one of our biggest clinic hospitals in Germany. And on this geological zones is the cancer clinic place. Sometimes it is quite funny.
Is that like cracks in the earth or water under?
Right,
under
both.
water?
I don't know the English name, but it's Verwerfung. Cracks in the earth. Faults in the earth first. It can be both. Cracks or faults in the earth or running water. But you will always find running water in cracks in the earth too. It's always together. There is no crack in the earth without water, because always water is looking for the easiest way to flow, and this is in cracks.
How far away from that do you need to be to avoid the problem?
1 yard. Either you are on it or you are beneath it. There is no possibility to shield it. There are thousands of people who sell you, especially in America. There are so many things sold in America. I don't know who is buying all that stuff. Incredible. There is nothing which can shield these geological stress zones. Save your money. You just have to go away with your bed, or you smile back. You radiate back. No, take me serious. There is no way to shield it. Be careful with all these little and big instruments and things and blankets and antennas and boxes and incredible thousands of marks for that bullshit. Nothing helps. You see, 22 floors of concrete, of steel, of high houses, and even you measure the same intensity on the 22nd floor. How do you want to shield it there? Incredible.
What about installation of electricity in the wall? Do you put plastic around it or metal?
So let's say one word to that again. The electricity in the wall is normally wise not very field intensive when it is technically good done. No cracked cables, good grounded. If the technique is like it should be. The fields are so little. For example, in this hotel, we are sleeping in the bed and there is no contact to electric fields and no electric potential in the body, even if the whole walls are full of cables, because the technique is perfect. There is nothing broken, everything in order. There has to be an electrical disorder to produce big fields coming out of the wall. But I think in at least 30% of all the houses, you will find something like that. And you have to be very careful with that. So I can't say you what it is about because I don't know the situation. It is not very often, but I think 30% careful, there are some defects in the installation or grounding is not there, and then the fields can be quite big and you have to shield them or to switch them out.
Can an ordinary electrician measure just those fields in the wall outlets?
I didn't understand that.
Can an ordinary electrician just have does an ordinary electrician have the equipment to measure that?
Right. I was talking about ordinary electricians in electrical situations. If you take shielded wires, there is no.
Ob ein normaler Elektriker diese Sachen messen kann.
No.
No, they don't.
No, they even don't in Germany. They don't want to have anything to do with it.
So then metal conduit is what should be used ideally even in a home, metal conduit?
For example, they are not allowed in Germany. If they are in America, they are perfect. Or take shielded cables. Like everybody takes shielded cables in computer rooms. Why? What is your health worth? This thing above your neck is more worth than a computer. So just do it like you do it in computer rooms. You don't find fields there too.
And I was a programmer, and I did work with computers. And what happened was I became sick in the room where I was working to write the programs for the computers. And when I would walk in to test my programs and spend an hour or so in there, I would feel better because they took such great care of the computer.
Right.
So if any of you are in that field, check where you work outside of the computer room.
So, the only problem we have together now is the time. And Helmut Zieher and me, we will both be here to ask all your questions. We will be with you, but we have to stop now, otherwise Steve is killing me. 2 more questions, please.
I would just like to let people know that we have a list going here of people in the Los Angeles area who are interested to sign up, and we'd like to somehow maybe make a little local newsletter or something. So if you're interested,
Good idea.
sign up on
Please.
this list.
Thank you, Alon. It was very good to be with you. Thank you.
Before you go,